So we have got some really beautiful images of goldfinches, and from this time on they should get a little bit more um, prevalent in the garden or in the area because they come in for the seed heads that are starting to appear for food. And these are all on very different backgrounds, and I've deliberately chosen four very different positions as well because we'll talk about position when we're, producing our own artwork of birds, because there's so many positions actually. It just, you can do something that's completely different each time, which is really nice. So I would say go for whichever you really fancy. You can kind of focus on the image more of the, focus on the bird more. You can focus on, like, say, a branch more. You can fuse a background out, you can keep it the same. It's entirely up to you. I've just gone for that one because I just love the position of it. It just really looks like it's really looking down on seeing what's happening. So I've gone for that. But they're all really nice, all very different kind of angles, and then obviously different lights. So what you do get is a very different colour depending on, where the light that the bird is taken in, the time of day sometimes. Um, you get, and also the position of it, 'cause you might get more of one part of the body than another one. Like, whereas this one's very warm, this one's very cool. So yeah, so light matters as well in terms of what we can see. So just go for the one you want, really. You can always do another one later. I mean, that was quite nice as well. I like the bark on here. So you can use pastel or a mixture of pastel and pastel pencils. I'm going to bring some pastel pencils in tonight because mine is very small, so that'll be helpful. So I'm A5 here, which is very small. If you feel that you want a little bit more kind of help with um, positioning, then you can always divide your page into like a 4/4 grid. Do that on your mat, but just do it really, really lightly so that you can easily smudge it out again should you not want it. And this is really just so that you can just see the positioning. And then you can then scale up or down. I'll just move that down a bit. Scale up or down when you've done that as well, which is good and helpful. You could go right up to A3 if you wanted, or A1 even with it, to really kind of have a massive, like, real detailed one. And then really the things we need to think about when we're looking at positions of birds and things are, it's this head to tail. So, the angle really helps us kind of get, and then from then on get each part of the shape in there. So even if I've got a little grid here, then I make it my business to really to just make sure that I'm using like what I'd call kind of a sweep. So I'm just using my pen, this straight blender, and just bringing it over just to kind of help myself get obviously comes out a little bit there, but it just helps with getting a general, she says, I've just noticed that mine needs to go down that way a bit. Just getting a general shape really. And then, looking at the next part where each bit kind of goes. So you can get in as much of the bird as possible. And you can always adjust it. If you're not quite there, it doesn't matter because we can bring the background in as well. And also you can go really big and go the other way, I'm just getting this beak into place. This, what tend to do when doing birds is start with the head. And then again, we've got this shape there. It's just following that flow down as opposed to just trying to do like a tiny section and it's on its own, because then when we come back up, memory muscle's a great thing. If we do more sweeping moments, we tend to remember that than we do if if we're doing just little small movements, we don't remember that, but we can remember the sweeping movements of birds and things much better if we try and get some longer lines in if possible. Right, I'm just looking here, a bit far out. So as I said, you can just bring the background in over the top anyway if you're going a bit too far and you're not happy with that. It needs definitely to come further though. Well, this actually needs to come further up here. I think I've done my shape a little bit too big actually. I'm looking. That's all the wings. So then yeah, start to pop in some of the bigger bits like the wings and things like that. I'm not going into massive detail at this point because we tend to zone in and change things anyway as we go, but it's just to get a general outline really, just so you've got something to start with. But again, just go for it in terms of exploring and experimenting. It's no different. We're not trying to recreate this photograph. We are trying to completely get our expression of this, interpret this this picture in our own way and kind of capture the beauty of the goldfinch which comes in, doesn't it? It's just like so curious. It's looking around for all these lovely seeds and seed heads in the gardens, and just very curious bird. So all good. So yeah, I'm just going to position whereabouts I think that the feet are going to go. None of this is in massive detail yet. Bring that round here. And they're quite far apart, these feet, actually. Which is fine. We'll pop in a bit of this one, because I'll probably bring this background in anyway. But we've had some lovely backgrounds. So when we go on to, exploring backgrounds, really go for it. Just get all sorts of different fused colours together. Just go mad with the colour if you want to, or go really simply. It's over to you in terms of how you interpret it. We have some people put lots of movement into the feathers and then also into the background. So just really go for it and explore and enjoy it really tonight. Or you can just completely focus in on the bird and just really get into the feather work. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do. So let's see. I'm going to pop the eye in, and what I'm looking for here, just put this light on there. What I'm looking for here is the shape of the patch of dark skin, dark feathers in there. So it's not just the shape of the eye inside, we can get to that, it's the shape of the dark feathers I'm trying to get there. This is where, again, you can change as you go. When you start to focus more on shape and you're looking at that, things may change. I think what I'm going to do, I did my part of my background first this morning, but I'm actually going to leave it because I'm really not sure what I want. Sometimes we're not sure. So as long as, you could, if you've got an idea of the colour, what you could do is start to kind of bring it just around the outline so that, that's kind of set. But if you really don't know, then that's fine, just leave it. And then you might decide you don't want one, you might decide you do. But all sorts of people we're putting some really beautiful backgrounds on today. So you can explore in all sorts of colourways. I think I will probably go a bit light, a bit pastel-y. So let's see. So I'm just going to start to go in, as I said, I'm going to start with the eye, because what we notice about birds and things like that is we get this directional movement of the feathers that come from the head over the eye, all the way around, and then down the back, down the body, around the wings. So it really lends itself to starting with that eye, getting that into place, and then everything else coming and kind of exploding down. And it's also a bit easier that way because you're not going to muddy up this bottom bit if you do that first. But if you have a burning desire to do the bottom bit first, that's fine. It's really not a problem. It's just more, get a bit of glassine paper or something while you're working if you prefer to do that. I'm going to start with the eye. So I'm going to go in with a dark pastel pencil, but you can use, obviously if you A4, A3, you'll be able to do a bit more control over it than I will with this little bit of paper. So I'm just going to go in with my pastel pencil. And if you're wanting to make it a bit more kind of neat and you haven't got your pastel pencil, then you can just get your pastel and just use a blending tip and pull it into the different areas to kind of create the shape. That works really well as well. Okay, and then whilst I'm doing that, I'm setting in my darker bits of pastel because it works on this particular bit where I'm just going to get some nice feathery marks in here around that eye where I can see that happening. Just set it in. I'm really dabbing it just very lightly, or you can use your blending tip. And then I'm going to go in and actually get a little bit of the eye in there as well. So I want something that's going to pop a little bit, but not be really intense. So that might be a bit too, but it's fine. Yeah, that's a bit better ochre. I'm going to go with an ochre colour. Let's see. I've done for a little more of a picture. So just going to just press a bit harder and kind of get the actual eyeball in there and the shape that I'm seeing inside the eye there. And then I'm going to just end up with a small little, like a little flash of colour. I'm just showing this bigger one here, where you're just getting a little tiny bit of of a, a flash of light. But I'm not going to go in with bright white for that because it's a bit more muted. So try and find a colour, maybe like a creamy colour, that's slightly lighter than that. I'm just going to get that little hint in there. And that's it, because that just gives it enough of a flash to be able to know that we've got these three different things going on there. And then if there's anywhere else that you want to just kind of go back over, if you think, oh, I've not quite got like exactly the shape of the eye I want to, then you just go back in and just pop it in there. And then what I'm going to do, where we try and put the dark areas in around a section first, but to be honest, with feathers, they overlap each other anyway, so you can't always put the dark ones over the top. Like these will overlap the dark ones there, but then some of the darks here are going to overlap. So I probably will get that strip in, but I'm going to do this red first at the top. So I'm just popping in a couple of shadows that I can see in this darker section at the front here. And then we can really go to town using all sorts of colours to explore, because within these sections we'll have some cooler reds in there where it's a little bit more in the shadow, or the nearest colours that we can find. So for me, it's more like a pinky, I think. Let's see what else I've got in red here. That's a brighter red. Orange, that's more like a vermilion, it's more like an orangey red. But you might even have stuff if you put it over the top, it's almost like a touch of, not quite purple, but see, oh no, it's a different one. Let's see what I've got in pastels. It's kind of best fit, isn't it, really, with some of these? Let's see which this one is. Which I like about pastels. There we go, that's a bit of a cooler toned. But it may well be also that you can see some little pops that are almost like orangey colour. So you can like weave those in over the top. So we get the darker ones in if possible, and if not, then that's fine. Just very carefully pop those in after. And then we can go in with the different tones. So I'm like looking here, I'm actually going in with this one to start with. It's a darker one, and I'm just popping in Where I feel it's cooler, which is around this top bit, which is more in the shade I'm feeling, because it's further away. I'm just going to pop that colour in there. And then a bit that's under here as well. Fix that in, but I've got to be careful around my other blend, other areas. I'm not kind of going over those. And then just going with some other different tones. And the thing is, when we're building these up, that's how it really helps create the shape. So what I'm looking at is um how I can get some little kind of brushy strokes in with these. Slightly different tones. It will start to create the shape. So every time we put a new colour on, it will change the shape of excuse me, sorry. It will change the shape of the bird again. So don't worry if it suddenly doesn't feel right. It will come right as we get all of the elements into place. And then to top that as well, I will then pop in a nice bright as well. Let's see. I'm going to go over there. See if the orange is going to work for me to make it pop. Sometimes we can't see the feathering without the other one, if you know what I mean. So we need those brighter pops on top. I'm going to go in with the yellow actually. Right, just have get a few little, as I'm pressing harder as I'm going up to this top layer as well. I'm just going to get a few little pops of yellow in there, see if that's going to help. And we're just working in some little feathery feels. And it doesn't matter how big those feathers are. So some people who love to get into the detail, it'll be really small. For other people, it'll be long and kind of really big strokes and a suggestion. So there isn't a right or wrong to styles at all. You should just follow how you feel completely, what's coming out naturally. Okay. So I'm gonna keep going round here. I just need to pop some of this shape, some of this dark colour back over the eye because I've just lost that a bit. And that's the beauty. When we're using pastel or acrylic, we can put anything back in that we want at all. One over the other. It's magic, really. Great result, great material to work in because we can manipulate it how we want it as well. It's really good. So I'm going to go back into the feathers here and start to, you could actually just kind of blend, you could actually just get a pastel if you've got enough space and just use the edge and kind of get that in, but I haven't really got the space on here. So I'm going to build this back like that and then just bring some of these other colours in. And this is when it will start looking really flat. This is what I was saying, because I'm working on the dark now, it will make it sink. But then when we start to get the other lights in, it will all start to pop. So we've just got to go, with it really. And we can overlay other colours as well. So I'm using the Grave paper to come through really and create a little bit of the shape with the pencil. I'm just going to tap that into place just a little bit. Make sure your fingers are nice and clean as you continue, otherwise you'll transfer that. And then we're going to create, when we put the light ones in, then obviously what will happen is it will just really start to lift a bit more and we'll create the shape. It won't feel so flat. So don't fear at this stage that it's all gone wrong because it suddenly looks a funny shape. It's just because we haven't got the lights in at all. We've just got the darks. So I'm going to go in with a pencil, but you could go in with something else. And also we can then start to contour it a little bit as well. We can start to create that shape that we want by bringing in the pencil exactly where we want it to go. So the only thing is it will pick it up because we're going over the dark. So just you might need to clean off your pencil a bit more. And again, just keep expressing it in the way you want to. Now, even within this white, I'm going to bring in a bit of warmth through here as well. Because there is some. So I'm seeing some kind of slightly warmer patches in there. So it's just deciding what colour you want to go in with. I'm just going to go in with a bit of yellow ochre actually, but there'll be all sorts of colours you can use, and whatever you're seeing, you have a go with. So I'm just creating a bit of a contrast with that. So just subtly, all these little subtle changes make things neat. And then if you've got any real pops, this is where I'll still always go back to a white actual pastel rather than pencil, because the pencils tend to be harder, so you don't always get a real bright white over a dark, whereas you can with the pastel because it's nice and soft. So wherever I've got a pop of real light, that's when I'm going to go in with that. Keep blowing the pastel off as well. And I'm going to get this beak in as well, otherwise sometimes things feel a little bit out of context, don't they, if we haven't got something in. So again, we're just observing all of the different colours on there, deciding, is it white or is it a slightly different colour? And there are some other shades in there. And again, at the moment it'll feel quite, kind of light and airy, and then we'll just pop in some other nice tones and things in there. Just observing it really. It's wonderful. But just really studying what you can see. So, whatever you're seeing, just pop in some of those colours in And if you need any kind of shadowy colours in, just put those in as well. If there's a shadow anywhere, by all means pop the shadow in. You don't want to create a harsh shadow, you can just pop a little bit of shadow in, just break up what it is you can see there. Don't always see the shadow everywhere. You don't always get a real, but you might just get it in places. Okay. And then, you can do any adaptations or anything, if there's anything you want to adapt as you go in. You're seeing a bit more of something else, for example, or even break up a little bit of something. Bit of texture, pop that in. But it just emerges the shape of the bird's head and everything all in there. Just going to put a little bit more on. I know. Enjoy getting really pulled into the wonderful flow of this, because it really is lovely. So I've gone a little bit over here, but I'm fine, doesn't matter. I'm not worrying about it. And you'll see, it's like what I was saying, as you're focusing on more, you'll start to adapt the shape. Depending on what bit you're doing. So I'm just kind of just getting a little bit of something in. So with the pastel pencils, I'm just using these on the side, really. Fixing that into place a little bit over, just so it helps sometimes just to get a little bit of the next bit in so you can see, and then I'll overlap some of this on. Again, it's very light here. So I'm just going to bring in some directional movement. Feels like it's going this way as well. So it's lovely to observe which way you're getting the movement and just kind of try and get that in. But of course you can bring the pastel into the other pattern and then the feathers over the other way as well. So that's the beauty of observing this. You're not stuck to one thing, you just got to keep wiping down your pastels. So, once you start to get down, we start to see more shape, and then we can observe the other patterns that we're seeing as well. Be really interesting. As we go further down, we're looking at bigger patches. And then when we're starting to look at these middle sections here, we're looking or observing how many, where is it cooler? So I'm seeing on the top of the back actually, where where this it's kind of over this side, it does feel a bit lighter and more pastely, whereas it's much warmer here, and warmer down the wing there, and then underneath as we go down, it's very cool. Although that's cream, it's got a bit of a shadow over it. So it's looking at what tone you can do that. So it's very different to this very bright white because that's in the shadow. So we're just thinking, we need a combination of all of those things in. We need the shadow, the darker colours in, around the wing and everything. And we can darken some of these areas by weaving through. We've got one tone underneath, just kind of creating some nice brush strokes over the top to get those shadows. Whether it's the edge of your pencil, edge of your, your, your pastel, or whether it's the pencil, it doesn't matter really. You can just kind of set one in. I'm just going to go for a darker one here and then decide, which are your darkest shadows that you want to pop in and which are kind of slightly lighter. And we're just going to keep going, keep the flow going. And keep adding on these lovely colours and tones. We've got things like, I'd say, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, raw sienna, all those kind of warm tones, all the nearest match because we don't have everything, And then you've got, the last thing to go on will be any little highlights that you want to weave through where it's a bit lighter or whatever. So that's something else to think about. Where it is, much lighter on this back here. Pop that over the top once I pop that in as well. And we're going to keep, we'll keep the feel of the bird, so really nice. Now I've come right out here, there, but not to worry because what I can do is once I've done this, then and I've decided my background, I'm just going to bring my background right in and just reshape the head. So it's always not lost. Don't worry if you think, oh no, I've lost the shape of it. It's fine. It'll be okay. So keep going. I'm going to take a pause there and come and see how everyone's doing. Right, so just keep continuing on with all these lovely warmer toned colours that we've got here. Browns, I'm just going to get mine out again, the ones I think I'm just using. But you could also bring in, as I said, I've got a really quite nice sienna colour here. Just to try some of those warmer ones. Darks. Sometimes we don't want to go in, and I do find that the browns in sets, you can't always tell what colour they're going to be when you paint with those. So quite good to be able to have a little look at those and see. So just notice the back of this head needs to come down. We're always observing, I think, more contours as we go on with things. And just keep popping in with these lovely colours that we're getting. And then popping in the contrast between them. Because we obviously need two different colourways to be able to actually see the feathering, that's the thing. And then again, any bright pops. Bright pops of colour. Bring bigger sections down and round as well, if that helps. I've been looking at how this transitions from being quite bright here quite cool there. So it might even be, see if I've got a creamy colour there or a taupey colour. You see, I'm changing the position completely now of the underside here. So, you know, we could even get away with, say, a grey or something as well under there. Well, it's not quite grey, I'm not sure, but we'll all see things very differently anyway, so you just got to go with what you see. Just keep observing, see what you fancy. No, I'm trying to go with a bit of grey over the top here. There we go, feels a bit better. Just keep testing, you know, what other colours you've got and what you're looking for as well. Sometimes things just appear. Keep enjoying building it up. You just obviously try not to get things too muddy by kind of over smudging things, darks and lights and things too much together. But meanwhile, just building things up still as well. Step by step, it all starts coming together. And it's just remembering to bring those feathers back over the tops of areas as well that you've done. It doesn't feel like it's a big block. If it starts to feel like a block, you just need to soften it down, make sure you've got those overlaps on there. And just those like little transitions of warmer colours, cooler colours, just keep looking for those. And also pops of any bright colours as well, or real warm ones, like where you get these lovely bright feathers. Just decide, how much warmth do you want to put through it. Finding, a pastel that is your best match really, and you can overlay a couple of things together to get get something that you like. I'm not saying the right thing, but something that you really like that works. I was looking for that one. There we go. Let's have a corner after. Yeah, so we get these pops of colour. And then when we're looking at, the ones that's underneath that, but still got some colour to them, but they're not as bright because they're going underneath. So we've got to kind of observe those things as well. Look at how they wrap around as well. So you might get a slight curve to show the tails going round the back as well. That helps to create a bit of shape as well. Yeah, we kind of alter, we end up altering things quite a bit, which is fine. So we might, just bring in a little bit of, to reshape something as well. Keep blowing that dust off as well. You turn around and it feels a bit pinky. So this is where we start interpreting if we're seeing anything else that we think, oh, I'm seeing this colour or that one, and just put it in. Doesn't always have to make sense. And you can fill in the gaps. So things like, the shadows, when you're looking and finding out where all of these shadows are, just start to, you might have like little gaps where you think, oh, I need a deeper shadow there so that that appears. You can just pop all those kinds of things in as you go in. Don't always appear to start with. That's fine. And if you've got anything that pops out too much, then again, you get your blending tool as well. Just soften it, because that always takes a bit of the pastel off, so you can just tone it down a little bit just by doing that. Get it to move a little bit. Keep looking and looking and looking, and then let your hand take over. So pop in little bits where the feet go as well. And then probably decide at this time what I'm going to do about the background. And with the feet and things, they often don't feel very foot-like. So you're just kind of getting a couple of shapes here and there with some similar tones. It might be like a bit kind of pinky. But they're just a series of shapes, the feet, really, as opposed to trying to actually draw the perfect foot. Just all the different tones you can see. Shadows between. And little highlights on there as well on the feet, as well as the shadows. I'm not going to make them too light though, because I don't really want to kind of draw the eye too near. And then you can think about, what else you want to pop in. If there's any other shadows. I'm going to come, before I do any more, I'm going to come back and have a little pause, so we'll see what's going on. See how you doing. Have a little step back from your work as well if you can. So always helps, I think, at this stage. We're quite attached to it, and we might be criticising little bits of it, but when you don't really need to. So just have a look at it from afar for a moment. Remember to step back. I think particularly when we're really focused on them. And then, if you're having a step back as well, you may just find that little things just pop out that you hadn't noticed. Right, I'll just take a little pause there, I think. Just make sure I've got the bits in that I want. Just going to add a tad more contrast here. Okay, so just always good to take a little break and then come back to it if you're not sure whether you're finished or you're getting to kind of near the end or you're tired as well. And that helps a lot. I've just come back to mine and noticed that actually the foot's come too far down here, so that's good. Good opportunity to change it. I'll just move it into this branch pretty much and then redo it over the top. So I'm just going to finish off a few of these feathers here. Mine's going right off the page today. So that will be how it is. Getting in colours that we want to pop in. And these just kind of blocks of colour over to black with the pastel. Kind of making a shape on there really. And you can just really push down with the pastel so that it doesn't kind of pick up too much. You want to just kind of flatten it a little bit in, then you can do that with your blending stump, but I'm certainly not going to blend because I want that to kind of stand proud really, that those patches of colour. And then down here too. And you know, with the sticks and things, you can get some couple of different terms. I always think like shadow, you know, a midish tone and then a light. So it's just finding, again, it's finding best fit really. So I might find a mossy green for the mid-tone and then a darker shadow. I'll probably put that on with a pencil. And it's nice to, what's the other one? Yeah, it's nice to kind of like just have it kind of wobble in as well. So it's doing that. I'm going to take it through where the feet are going to go as well here. Yeah, you see that looks a little bit further down as well. Want it, but that's okay. And then, as I said, just kind of popping on a bit of a mid-tone on there. And then picking out, you know, with some kind of highlighty bits. It's just again, it's finding the tone that's going to. So I kind of try and wiggle my pastel a bit just to create a bit of suggestion of texture so it's not completely smooth down these bits. Quite as brighter highlight here. You can pop back in any shadows that you want to pop in. And also any kind of bits that are sticking up, any kind of nodules in the bark and things. Just pop a little, bit of a highlight on those little nodules as well, where they're catching the light, or the other way, it might be that they've got a bit of shade under the other side under them. And then I would just, that's where you can pop the feet back in if they're not in the right place, or throw them somewhere else, or you want to change the shape or whatever a little bit. So that might just be putting the shadow underneath as well so you can see it. Oh, so getting to a point where where you feel that you're kind of where you want to be. So obviously I've got need a gap here, but this is the thing with the background. So you might want to just leave it as it is, or you might want to kind of come in and put some colour or whatever that's going to, help change the shape a little bit of what you've got there. So that's entirely up to you. And again, it'll depend on what colours that you want to use. So I'm just having a little look. I might actually go in with some blues. Let's see. Maybe some blues and some greens. Let's have a look. So we just obviously got, if we're going to put this on afterwards, we've got to be careful. Normally I tend to always put backgrounds on first. But there are going to be times where you're just not sure what you want at this point. So on those occasions, then you just you're just making that decision. I'm just going in when you kind of artistic license is what we call it, isn't it? Could just be one colour. You might have different tones in there. Let's see. And again, I'm just literally just kind of creating a shape there with the edge of the pastel, changing things a bit. I'm not happy with where they are. Going down here. And sometimes we can see that much more clearly when we just follow, like trace a line round as opposed um, to just kind of trying to, draw the bird out or whatever. I'm going in here. Just fix this in place. You could use a little blending tip though if you don't want to be a bit more careful about blending around the bird. And then the same underneath. Now you don't have to even take this right up to the edge. You could just create a little vignette of just a small amount of background on there and just leave it, or you can go all in, or you can go put a couple of tones in there. This is just what I just fancy this colour tonight. That's what we're going for. And again, I'm just going to take care to shape. Yeah, to shape things about really. Yeah, or you can just continue to work into things. Entirely whatever you want, really, is the totally honest, my honest opinion. Just do what you feel you want to do in the moment, because that's creativity, isn't it? Creativity. Mhm. So what we create in the moment, it's an important part of kind of how we're feeling and just what emerged up at that point. We could pop some other colours in if we want to. I might just pop a little bit of something in like that. Let's see. Do the pencil. I might blend it. I might even just leave this until the morning and see how I feel actually as well. There we go. But yeah, it's a really lovely moment when we just kind of exploring a topic, new topic, and that's another one step on our creative art journey, which is just lovely to explore and experiment and just spend time looking and observing and exploring colour, which is so important, isn't it? So I hope that's been really helpful. And that'll be my final pause.